Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the last show and tell of our winter spring season for NEBA Book Artists. Today, Sunday, May 15th, we have two artists who are going to present their work and their thoughts about their work and get us all excited again to meet them. We've got Lee-Zimerle and Rebecca Tumicki, all the way from Washington State. And that's where we're going to start today with Rebecca. And we're really excited that you agreed to do this. We know you're a new member, and it's really great that you're part of us from way over there. So thank you for being here. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, thank you. And let me go ahead and share the screen. Now there, hope you can see it. So, thank you everyone for being here this morning. It's been great. I've been looking forward to this because I've gotten so much from everybody that I've been seeing on the different videos I've been watching from NEBA. So again, my name is Rebecca and I'm out here in Washington, even though I grew up in Connecticut, so I do feel kindred spirits with everybody. And today I'm going to talk about how I got going in, let's say, book art. And it only started a few years ago. So I still feel very much a beginner and I am learning a lot from everybody, always getting ideas. So this all started when I went to the Bainbridge Island Museum of Art back in 2019. They had it's called Dog Year, and it's a weekend book festival for book artists. And this lady, Cynthia Sears, she has over 2,000 in her collection. It's a private collection, and she has a rotating exhibition at the Bainbridge Museum of Art. And I went there yesterday, and now they're having a show called Boundless. It's going to be there through May. And when I went there yesterday, there was a lady who has her books there, and I could have sworn her name was Amy Lee. And then today, and I see Annie Lee, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're the same person in the typo. But this one says they're from Philadelphia. So I don't know if this Annie Lee and Amy Lee are the same person or not. I could have misread it. The work looked similar. And so I just wanted to highlight some pieces that I saw yesterday. And I just like the different styles. So somebody made a vending machine for their book. And then someone else had this half moon shape and a box that went with it. I just get goosebumps when I see all these different kinds of art. Now, so for myself, I have 3 projects I was going to share with you today. And these are projects that came about after seeing the book artist over at Bainbridge Island. So the first one I called Seed Packet, and I do believe I probably saw something that was already there using seed packets. And I thought, oh, I want to make one for myself and I'm going to use it as my journal. So I created 12 different packets. I made a template, got some paper that had leaves and stems and flowers in it. And then I cut out each one, and then I had to decorate the front, and I picked themes that resonated with me for each month. And this was made in 2019, and I started writing in each one in 2020. So not only did I do the front of it, like I was using stamps that I carved myself and just a lot of bits and pieces I keep collecting. I like stamps. So that was the front. And in the back, I have other stamps that I've collected. Then I had to find a way so I can seal it, open it, seal it many times. So I'm using that wasabi tape, and that's been working fine. And then on the inside, I had a piece of paper to write for the current month. then I had another piece of paper that I was projecting what I wanted for the next year. So as you can see, I don't know if you can zoom in, it's pretty small on my screen. But again, this is starting in 2020, and I was looking for full-time work. So these were my intentions that I was setting. And then in 2021, for the hopefully securing a full-time job. And then 2022, yeah, I was celebrating 60. That was this year, which happened. And then in 2023, I was projecting I wanted to do more art, which is for next year. So I'm hoping to free up my time so I can do more art. I think here too, I said in 2022, I wanted to do books and art and have them out to the public. That was written 2 years ago. And here it is, 2022, and look where I am with you guys.
Really?
So things are happening.
Yay. Reaching your goals. Can I ask you about the chops here? Are you collecting random chops or are you having them made?
I can, what did you say?
About the chops that you're using here, these stamps?
Should I go back?
No, it's the back of the seed packet journal.
Yeah, these stamps. Yes, I've been collecting them in different places that I've lived.
Oh, okay. So you don't have them made, you just collect them.
Well, one was made. And that's why I should have written it down. Because at the time I thought, oh yeah, I'll remember. But I had one of them carved out for me. And it could have been my name. So I'm thinking it's this one here when I was living in Ho Chi Minh City. And I should have had more of them made, because you just go down there, you put in the word, and they'll go ahead and carve you a stamp and put it on wood.
Oh, it's on wood. Okay.
So you're standing there while they do it?
Excuse me?
Are you standing there while they do it?
No, I had to order it and then come back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's well, they make it out of rubber, but then again, it's very thin. So then they glue it on wood to raise it up maybe about 2 inches, so you have something to stamp it with.
I see. Okay. And I love the addition of the little circle and the little rectangle in addition to the carved ones. I'm into chops. They're because I do various things with chops. So
How did you spell that word for me?
Can you put it in the chat for us, Carolyn? And maybe the place that you like the best, the company name of the place you like?
Yeah, it's like a pork chop.
C-H-O-P.
And yeah, I will. I'll put it in the chat. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted it to be relevant to this seed packet journal. And yeah.
And I moved last year, so it took me a while when I was getting ready for this. It's like, where did I put that seed packets? That's one thing with moving. I do mislay things. I'm still looking for something else. But I did find it.
I like the idea that you have this record of where your head was at then and what your goals were back then. Do you correlate like what actually happened? Whether you know, like, did you I don't know, did you follow through with what you suggested for yourself in these when you made them?
Sometimes I do go back through, as I said, I just found them, haven't gone through all of them just to see what was happening. Usually I'll write down, and there are themes that I do over and over again. So eventually, hopefully then it sinks in and I get things done. But like with moving, that was a big thing. I wanted to be able to save money. And because I got back to the States in 2019, so I had to start all over. So I just had to keep thinking, what do I need? What do I need? And I've reached all those goals, and they've been on these sheets of paper, and I did move. And I've gotten everything that I've been wanting to get myself settled again. And now the next one is doing art. But that daytime job gets in the way. So anyway, that's the next thing I'm figuring out, how to have that balance. But when things are, I guess if I'm stressed or there's friction, that's where art helps me to then move through it, get through it. So I enjoyed this project very much, and it's one of those things to have now, just to keep reflecting or looking back on. And the next one that came about is when I was walking through the exhibition a couple of years ago, and I was looking at all the different materials that people were using to make their book art. And I realized, or I noticed, nothing was made with mirrors. I want to make something with mirrors. And this is a concept book because I don't really have the skill set yet on how to get the mirrors, cut them, how to get them hinged together, but I wanted to at least get it out of me, and that way I'll have a prototype. So when I am ready, the book is there. So for now, I'm calling it You. I'm not sure if it's going to be that title. And this book has 7 different emotions, and my intention was to have an interactive book. So it could be with an adult, a child. I guess when I was doing it subconsciously, it came out with mother, child. So there's going to be female figures. And then on the left side, and then the right side, then hopefully the child, and this is where the mirror comes in, then the child can go ahead and act out the emotion. So as I said, there are 7, and I'll show you 4 of them. So starting off with the smile, and then I can just, picture this, the mom singing, and then the child looking in the mirror, also singing. And of course, yelling, the different emotions that came up for me. One was that, just to have a nice, well-rounded set.
Yeah,
and I think what children experience from the beginning.
Smiley either. Yeah, too much. You gotta have a range of emotion. That's nice. That's sweet.
And then that's why, and I ended up calling it You, because at the very end, that's what it says. And so again, I'm hoping to have mirrors and then painting on the mirrors. And then some kind of hinging.
I've used silver mylar as a way.
That's foil.
Yeah,
and
silver
I have
mylar
seen,
does act very mirror-like.
Did you say silver mylar?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, because something to take it to the next level. So that's why I'm envious of the people who've been in your own studios for so long, that you probably have a lot of different materials out there.
I would think with mylar, you'd have to have a thick, something thicker than paper, even cover paper, because when you bend mylar, it kind of has you're in sort of like a funhouse mirror sort of effect.
You would definitely need to mount it on something that's sturdy, so it doesn't contort, because it would turn into a funhouse mirror.
And the way I envision 2 different versions, one would be the artistic one with mirrors, and then the other one would be something hopefully that could be sold, because I think a lot of people would enjoy doing this with their child. Yeah. And it's something that they can practice over and over again.
I think to have this as a book, a children's book, is a great idea.
Yes. So then because I think there are children's books already that do have mirrors inside of them. So some version of it, maybe it's that.
They do a plastic version. Attleboro Art Museum has a bunch of stand up on a table mirrors that you can put in front of yourself that aren't glass, that kids can use. Yeah, that are plasticky with a highly reflective, true mirror effect to them without distortion. Yeah.
So I think that will be great. And so again, it's just fodder waiting to be out there to the public. And then the last one is call it Lion's Head. And this one was the very first one that I made, because after I walked away from that book fair, I thought, oh, I just want to make something with an old book. So I have a book from Tumicki, his essays and or short stories. And then I just started making these strips of triangles and then a lion. Oh, I know why. Because at the book fair, there's a lady sitting there with a typewriter and she would write a poem for you. And I said, write something about Leo. I'm Leo rising. And that means a lot to me. I like astrology. So she did. And then I have the poem. And then I went home and over the next couple of weeks, I made this thing. And so what I liked about it was it's a wall hanging, and then over time, as you see the paper, the top ones are going to fall down and curl due to gravity. And I just like that organic feel to it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
How big is that? What are the dimensions? Just roughly.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 24 by
Oh man, that makes it
Wow,
life
okay,
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah,
a life
wow.
size lion.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's beautiful.
Really fun.
And then picking out words for the eyes and the nose. So I wanted to have that stand out a little bit more than what was on these other ones on its name, because that would be
Oh, yeah.
harder to read.
Oh yeah.
So
Nice
I enjoyed
job.
that one and made a smaller version too.
Did you use gesso for the white or did you use paint?
Tracing paper.
Oh,
Wow.
I
Okay.
love tracing paper.
Tracing paper and graphite. All
There's
right,
a lot
got
you can
it.
do with it.
Brilliant.
And then seeing all the different ways people put their thoughts and how to express them, the different structure for it. I did this back in 2007. This is a blanket that I took around the world with me, and I had other people knit it, and it's all these emotions and sentiments that are being knitted into this baby blanket for little Georges. And so it still sits. I did write the book and I illustrated it, but I want to do something with the blanket and maybe have drop down cards that are illustrated or something, or have lots of knitting needles too. So that's the next thing that I'm, as I said, it's simmering, and it's going to be called Blanketed in Love.
Nice.
Things do sometimes have to simmer. Yep.
Yep, yes. And that's why now I'm getting more inspired on what I'm seeing and then how maybe I could be using that, or just to get it going, kicking it off.
Is this your grandchild?
No, nope, just a friend. And she was having a baby and she said, could you knit me something for she didn't even have it yet. I'm like, yeah, I'll knit you a blanket, and I was going to travel around the world anyways. And I said, I'll just have other people help knit it. And then what was interesting about this project, I would give it to anybody. And I'm like, here, do you want to help knit part of this baby blanket? And they're like, well, I don't know how to knit. And I'm like, I'll teach you how to knit. And so many people were apprehensive or scared. They didn't want to make a mistake. So all this was written into the book.
Nice.
Yeah. So
And the kitten's now a cat.
oh yeah.
And how old is the baby?
Well, it's just, the baby was born in 2007.
Okay.
Yep. So
Your knitting
and
needles, your knitting needles there look really beautiful. They don't look like, they look like they're wood. I don't know if they really are, but
yes, yes, circular wooden needles.
oh. Yeah, they're very pretty.
And it's funny how projects come out, because while I was knitting this, and it's wool, and I, oh, it stinks, it smells. I wouldn't want this as a baby's blanket. And then of course there are mistakes in it. And I just can't Yeah, I haven't even finished it. It's still sitting the way it is right now. But see,
So
that's,
it's
I
a,
think that's gonna be part of the story.
it's a
'Cause it's still,
concept. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's still gonna unwind and more things have to be knitted into it.
And that kid is cold, though. You've left that kid cold. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah. Well, he's living in Saudi, so yeah, it's not really a cold there.
That's a great picture of you.
That's where I started. Yeah, in I was just leaving the country. And
Wow.
yes, so there's lots and lots of side stories to this,
Oh,
but
I'll bet.
it just gives me another way so I can go ahead and express this.
Yes, yes. Blanketed in love. That's really wonderful. Why were you in Saudi Arabia?
I went there one to teach, so that was not. I wouldn't say it's the main reason I went there. That allowed me to go there, but I needed to get away from the TV set. I said, how I just need more time without a TV. And I said,
Wow.
let me just move to a place where I won't have a lot of distractions, and then I can do more art. And I did a lot. I did a lot there.
That's great. Where's the kitten?
This is in Maine. It's a Maine Coon cat, and I was visiting friends. Oh, sorry, it's New Hampshire.
Oh, can you tell I'm into cats, not so much babies?
Well, they raise coon cats, and they just had a litter, so they're trying to get them socialized. So they're like, go ahead, play with them, do what you want.
Oh my gosh, that's like heaven to me.
Oh, they're beautiful animals, the coon cats.
Yep, they are, and wonderful pets.
Mm.
Well, these are really, really interesting, Rebecca. Thank you so much for showing these. Are there any questions for Rebecca? I mean, she obviously has a ton of stories and has been an artist beyond making books for a long time. That graphic behind you of the sun is very beautiful.
Part when I moved in, that was already here. And the thing, when I moved in, I wanted to have all these blank walls to show my art. So I'm like, darn. I like the sun, but it's taking up a lot of wall space. So all my other art is just hanging out on the floor, leaned up against walls.
Is that a canvas or what?
It's just, no, it is a wall.
Oh, it's a painted thing on the wall, a
Yes.
mural. It's really lovely.
I do like it. I do.
Maybe a big piece of vellum over it, and then you can put art over it with that peeking through. You love tracing paper.
I was thinking of different ways of how I could put things, but I don't know, the things, because they're just leaning on up against the wall and cabinets. I can still see them.
Yeah. So are there any questions from anybody?
I would like to talk about the 6-word memoir for a minute as well. We're doing that as our monthly book arts prompt. And again, that has the 3 words. It's a description, a theme, and a technique-driven idea. So 6-word memoir.
Ah, yes.
You want to tell us some about what that means and all for you?
Was that?
Can you show us the just hold up the book and explain a little bit about it?
Yes. Gosh, again, I think it was around 2008 or 9 that I heard about this on NPR. And there is a book out there. It's a compilation of 6-word memoirs from famous people. And then when they said that, I said, well, what's my 6-word memoir? And it came very quickly. And then it wasn't until I went to, everything happened at Bainbridge Island Museum of Art, because at that book fair, they had the template on how to go ahead and make it out of one piece of paper and you fold it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is perfect. I can go ahead and write my 6-word memoir, because on the inside, you have 6 pages to write. And then on the back, you can write your history and put your ISBN number and your code.
You want to tell us that, since we can't see your 6 words exactly, can you read them? What are your 6 words?
Okay. Is it in my camera view?
Yeah, you
Okay.
didn't flip through it right. Well, just start at the beginning and let's see those words
Okay.
in order.
So when I came up with this 6 words, I just came back from walking the Camino de Santiago, and that takes about, for me, I gave myself 2 months. I walked it, and it was just a wonderful experience. And I met so many great people that when I was sitting there listening to the radio show, I said, oh, my 6-word memoir is a charmed life with charming people.
Okay. There was another version that you had done that had the alphabet, I believe, in it.
Yes, so I have that one too.
And how does, we were trying to, I shared the images, when at the mixer, when I announced that this was our prompt for next month, and I didn't really understand it. So I wanted you to explain how the alphabet book was 6 words, or did those?
That was something different. That was another part of my, book collection. So the 6-word memoir is for these small zines. So that's one thing I did. And then I said, oh, let me take that idea and make something else. So then I made my alphabet.
I think we got the pictures out of sequence, maybe, because we didn't have the interior that said a charming life with charming.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I didn't photograph all that. Maybe I didn't photograph it because I thought, let people come up with their own without any kind of.
Okay,
example.
I think I confused people because I showed the cover that said 6-word memoir, and then when we looked at the page spreads, they were an alphabet, and people were looking at the illustrations as somehow a coded secret message, and we talked about it for a while trying to figure it out. So
well, I can go ahead and put these in an email for you, but I thought, it could go either way. Some people like to know what the example is.
Too much information, maybe just the cover is enough. But I just thought it was funny because we were trying to decipher all the activities of the people and the little illustrations for the alphabets as being some kind of like secret message. Okay, I think you're the host be able to do this now.
Yeah. All right. You guys can see
it looks
my
good.
name. Okay. So again, I apologize for joining you guys a little late, but thank you for being patient. And yeah, when you guys, I guess, when I was asked to do it, I kind of put everything together very quickly, but I wanted to start with images that's kind of on our website under our member kind of highlight. So, because it really doesn't explain much. It has images, but you don't really see what's going on. So I thought I'll start with that and then show you a few recent books that I have made. So this is the flag book called Season's Greetings. And I don't know, I was kind of like in that mode of like having, I guess, family. This is when our kids were a little bit younger, that I would start to receive, I guess, a photo greeting cards from all our relatives and friends. And I realized how everyone's so like, I don't know, kind of like presenting themselves in a way that wasn't really real, but only existed in the picture. So then I thought about how I portrayed our lives and our family in these greeting cards. So we had a fortunate event where we were able to go to Roatan, a small island down in Central America. It's a beautiful place. so I wanted to make sure that we get these beautiful family shots. And believe it or not, we couldn't even be on the beach for more than a few minutes because the sand fleas were so bad that we couldn't, like, not able to like just even, I don't know, lay out. So we will quickly take a photo and then just like wrap ourselves in to blankets because we didn't want it to get bitten by these sand fleas. But when we took the picture and brought it home, they just look fabulous. No one will know that we had miserable time at the beach with all these sand fleas, but only thing they see is beautiful ocean in the background, us, just being ourselves on the, almost like it wasn't a private beach, but it's like nobody's around. So obviously the people who actually live there know how horrible it is to be out. But anyway, so it was just like a funny incident, but yet I kind of wanted to bring that attention because we are now living in this society where social media is everywhere, and we just like put up these images that we're really not. And I thought that was just interesting. So that's what this is about. All right. And then the next one, this is Accounting 10. One of my actually earlier books that I made as a student. I studied as a painter. So when I was first introduced to book arts, the only thing I kind of knew was kind of adopting the idea of a painterly like kind of objects and putting into a book form. So these individual squares are painted on a really heavy board with oil paint, and then I sealed it with some kind of a sealer so that the book stays and not get scratched. But the idea was obviously bringing kind of a interaction. The one thing that I really liked about book arts when I was introduced was how I can collaborate with my audience. They can, like, it's no longer just standing in front of my painting and just like observing it, but they can actually play with it, turn pages and whatnot. So this is actually a puzzle. You can actually count from 1 to 10 as a square. And when you put all the squares together, they form a big giant basket of fruit on the back. So it's kind of very interactive.
What's the size of the squares?
Squares are about maybe 6 by 6.
Ah,
Not
okay.
very big, small, little, tiny. But when you put it all together, it becomes a larger set of puzzle. And that's kind of like the idea of bringing the kind of a childlike approach. When you look at a lot of children's puzzles, they're usually larger than adults. So yeah, and then obviously there's a little math going on where they had to figure out, even though I'm giving all the answers on there as a card, but that's kind of like the idea of playfulness with the audience.
Beautiful painting.
Thank you. All right, so kind of moving, kind of a fast forwarding. So these are current. So I created a few from my window kind of series when the pandemic happened. I'm not really a nature kind of a person when it comes to making art. I do a lot of more of a portrait, like things that's related to me personally, kind of like a memoir, I guess. But when I was trapped in a place where you really have no access to people, the only thing you can do is look out, look out your window. And then I realized there's so many beautiful things that I can interact, at least for my perspective, and calm myself down and get myself a little bit busier. So these are all done from the 2020 to 2021 summer. And these are tunnel books. So this is the cover when you open it, kind of giving you an idea how it looks
Are these
like.
printmaking? Are you cutting up prints? Is that what you're doing here, or are you?
So I actually
like,
printed.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I printed these as a relief prints. So
Yes.
so these are printed, but obviously with the same matrix, I'm like printing multiple, and then cutting them out and placing them as in different layers. So it becomes a tunnel book. So the idea was when people open the book, they're looking at a scene or frame of the window that I was staring at. Obviously the colors are a lot more vibrant in life, but that's the idea, kind of opening the book and looking at it as if they're looking at through my small window that I was looking at.
It's a beautiful little print.
Oh, thank you.
How many layers do you have there?
Good questions. I think about
It's
maybe
gorgeous. It's just gorgeous.
5 or 6, I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm just like counting here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at
So I
least
study
five.
with, I study with a larger, and then as you can see, they're smaller. And at the end, the last page is just like a blank block print that I just did with one color. So the last page has no image, but just the green, for example. So I thought it's kind of interesting to create that shadow when you look at tunnel book, so that not having the image, but having that color gives a little bit of that, the depth that I was looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then another one of that is this one, and I kind of took it from a different angle so you guys can kind of see. So this one, I kind of realized I'm coming from Midwest, and we obviously have trees and birds, but I realized in Maine, birds are very colorful, so obviously you don't really have a color because I printed in one, but this was blue, but I don't know what they are. I'm not really into, like, I don't know how the names of the birds, but when I saw that bird, I'm like, how beautiful, but I know it was color blue. So here's another one.
Okay, all you bird people, is it a bluebird?
No, that's not a bluebird.
It is not? Okay.
No, it's
Well,
like it could have been blue.
It has
but
a little bit of a
literally
blue to it when I saw it, but I don't know. Again, I'm not a.
It might be a blue jay.
No.
No, it doesn't have the point.
That's just another, yeah. And then kind of not moving
Fantastic.
fast forward, but so after the pandemic, we were able to go out and start making, friends and meeting people. So recently, it just closed at the end of last month. I was fortunate to be part of a curated show at Maine Jewish Museum with actually Rebecca Goodale. She's here, and she was part of that show too. So when we were asked to make works, because it's a Jewish museum and I'm not Jewish, but the thing that curator came and asked was, we had to create work that was inspired by women in Old Testament, the Jewish Bible. So that was kind of a given to us. So we started to, obviously I started to read and research about a little bit more of a woman in Old Testament. I mean, I know the names, but when you think about how exactly who they are, people just don't know unless you're very religious. So anyway, so this pop-up book, I was reading Proverbs. The name was not mentioned. They just named the king, but so it was a king, Lemuel. Okay, anyway. So he talks about his mother, so the queen, obviously, and said the message that his mother taught him was in that Proverbs 31, like the verse, how she's like the merchant ships and like brings her food from afar, and she gets up early and stays up until late, just providing things to the family. Like that was whole point about this passage. And I was intrigued by that. Like, I was intrigued by the fact that a lot of times in our society, it's like they are so, they give credit so much to the men, you know? And here, a king of, I don't know, the land, right? Or country or whatever, praising his mother instead of his father, how she provides so much for the family. And I wanted to kind of use the idea of, I guess, spider, because spiders are either loved or hated by people. But the whole idea of what they do with their nest is, you know, they're literally collecting and catching their own food. So kind of using that metaphor with food around. So this is a pop-up book, and it's quite large for a pop-up book. I think it's about like 20 by 15 when it's closed. So when you spread it open, we're looking at like 36, you know, inches wide. So it's quite large, I think, as a pop-up book.
There's a red something in the web, and what is that?
That's a ladybug
That
Oh,
she's
got
caught,
caught.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. We get a lot of ladybugs in our house. So I wanted to kind of use that, and they're fine, but I think I prefer spider over ladybug.
Really?
My house, because when ladybugs kind of leave the dye, the red dye somehow when they get killed. Well, you know, when you kill the ladybug, they like leave their anyway, and when they bite, it hurts too. So
Ladybugs
Ladybugs
bite?
bite?
yeah, they do bite.
I know they're vicious killers of things in the wild. Ladybugs are used as an aggressive pest control for a lot of different farm products.
Yeah.
Like a lot of produce people, when they get infested with certain types of bugs, will unleash like an army of ladybugs on it to kill the other bugs.
Had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I know a lot of people will probably think that ladybug is prettier than spiders. So, you know, but I'm kind of like the other way. Sometimes like I see spider, I'm like, don't kill a spider because they kill our other bugs, you know? So I will leave sometimes spider alone and get rid of the ladybugs. So.
I don't think I've ever been bitten by a ladybug, and I've never squished one. So the idea that it squishes and creates red is kind of interesting.
Like orangish, yeah.
Yeah.
And it leaves a mark on your wall, and I hate it.
I wonder if they use it to make red paint. You know, there's some kind of a red worm that's used to make a common red paint.
I see a secondary thing caught up in the back there in red. Is that another ladybug or is that a different?
Yeah. So I created two but the thing is these, the spider webs are in layers. So when I created the pop-up, these two are in the way back, but this is actually in the middle after the fruit and vegetables. So I have several layers of pop-ups happening.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Thanks. All right. So this one, I just gave you a little shot of like the front of the book and just, you know, the case. And when you open it, it kind of spreads open like this. And it was a little too long for me to give more shots, but you can kind of imagine there are pages of the grass kind of happening, and in between some pages I have filled with flower pattern painted. So the grass is printed and the flowers are painted. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Nice
Okay.
job.
Yeah. So it's a long accordion book, and this one was inspired by actually the book of Ruth. Again, if you go to church and read, you probably know, but she's so famous. I think a lot of people know about her story. So for another book that I made for the show at the Jewish Museum was about Ruth and Naomi, right? So Naomi was the mother-in-law, just for those who don't know the story, and Ruth is the daughter-in-law. But when you look at their story in the Bible, it was kind of like they have a horrible life in the beginning. So Ruth obviously marries one of Naomi's sons, and Naomi's husband dies, all her son dies, so only the wives are left alone. And Ruth was the only, I think, daughter-in-law that says, I want to just go with you to Naomi, and they travel and kind of like that. So anyway, so I thought about, obviously, my life compared to what they went through is nothing. I have my husband who's still alive, so, but anyway, I wanted to kind of portray the idea of the journey, the life journey of a woman. So it's not just me. I think anybody can kind of relate if you're a woman, that, a lot of things that we do in life with the family or your children or whatever, nobody really gives a lot of credit for. So I kind of started with a pattern of flowers that's a little bit less, you know what I mean? And then by the end, you kind of see flowers almost as if someone had actually caught this and told me when I was at the opening. It reminded her of like a wallpaper, So even though it's a small portion of that pattern, giving that idea that it could be just, patched all over in a room, so it gives that scale, just ongoing scale of pattern of the flower. And that's kind of like what I was going for, even though they're somewhat glimpse of pattern of that flower, that it could be filled in a space. So kind of life with a smaller, and
that wallpaper pattern concept is really interesting, because that brings it into a domestic environment that is woman's place in the world.
Are we seeing that the ink on the latter part is brown versus green? So the color is shifting, or is that in the photo?
It's shifting. I did that on purpose. Yeah. Because, when it comes to plant, I do feel like they grow, and then there will be a time that it dies. And then human life kind of like similar. So yeah, I started with a very limey, kind of a brighter green, and then I transition into more reddish and brown, and yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Wow.
Very nice.
Thank you. And a little more playful. So this is kind of a, again, a story of now Eve. We're like jumping all over the place in that story of woman. So this is a book that I made inspired by Eve. And in the Old Testament, if you read it, she's like the first woman that's mentioned, right? And a lot of times that we just know her. I mean, I only kind of know her as like she's the one that blamed and like did something horrible in the beginning of whatever. So like she gets a lot of blame for everything. So I thought it was kind of interesting to play that character of a person who gets blamed by everyone because she's the one that blamed first, I guess. And then I kind of did pages of kind of like a paper doll, but using my background as a Korean American woman So I brought kind of traditional Korean dress and hair pieces that kind of represents when a woman has a hair in one way down. That's like, they only do it when they're like not in public, but when they're ready for bed. So when things are done, but when they go out, hair is always put up. So these are the things that I kind of brought. And then obviously the
When
Western
does she wear her snake dress? For what occasions does she wear her snake dress?
snack trays. So this is obviously going towards the idea of actually bringing the Eve side.
Yeah,
So the character of Eve. Yeah. So I'm kind of combining the two. And then this is when in the story, she hides, you know, she finally feels like shamed and embarrassed and things like that. So yeah.
I love it. And
Nice
this is the
evening gown.
Jacob's ladder, correct?
Yes, it's a Jacob's ladder. So these will kind of rotate, you know.
And the background inside of the box,
Uh-huh.
how is that a lining of the box?
So I actually have it. So once I'm done sharing, I can actually show you the Jacob's Ladder book. So this is just a box that contains everything. And because this book itself is somewhat small, it's like a toy book, you know?
Yep.
So it has a little column on the top where you can put that book inside.
Mhm.
And then I put the paper dolls here, and then the whole doll, you know, like box gets closed, obviously with the lid. So again, when you look at it as a size, what I was going for was that kind of like a game board.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
You know, yeah, how you just open up and play. So even though we have like a naked, you know, or woman in nude, it is very childlike book, you know what I mean? Because Jacob's Ladder is known as, like I said, a toy book, and paper doll is another element that I at least grew up with, you know, when I was younger. So yeah, so I kind of wanted to bring that. And then this paper, I didn't make it, I found it, and just perfect pattern and color for me that really fits into both my Eastern and Western culture. And I just loved it. So I put that on there.
Great.
And it's kind of goldish pattern.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if it was gold.
Yeah.
Not too shiny, but
Mhm.
there's a certain reflection to it.
Yeah.
And these are paintings, right?
These are paintings, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I really like your concept of the snake dress and the leaf dress, and then looks like maybe a maid. The variety, I like all that.
Thank you.
And now if someone was to cut them out, maybe they're not meant for that, but they would fit on that other.
Yes, it will fit
doll.
on her, this woman.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
I love that one. Yeah.
So as I was kind of describing it to you guys earlier, that I have a painting background. So I still paint, I still love paint, and you can kind of see it in my book too, that I love to incorporate the painting element that I love into the book. So for my painting series, I've been doing for many years this sleep series that I'm doing, okay? So I thought I'll show you these before I talk about my next book, because next book kind of relates to my series that I've been doing in a painting, and it wasn't intentional. It just happened to be that way. So I thought it was just interesting how my mind always go back to the things that I love, even though I'm like, let's say, a reading about woman in the Bible, you know? So when you think about it, like, what is this sleep has to do with woman in the Bible? You know what I mean? So I thought I'll kind of show you these as an example and then talk about this one. So this book is called Sleepless Nights, and it was inspired by Sarah in the story. And Sarah is a wife of Abraham, if you don't know. And she is a woman that couldn't have a child. So then she lends her maid, actually a servant girl, to go sleep with, you know, her husband so that they can have a child. So you can only imagine how crazy this concept is. And I think she eventually gets pregnant, but by the time she gets pregnant, she's like age 90, you know? But anyway, so I thought it was just crazy how a woman can lend another woman because for their idea of, you know, carrying the name or having their own, you know, child is so important that she will just have her maid go, you know, sleep with her husband. So
And a Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, it's totally the foundation of
Yeah.
The Handmaid's Tale. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So then I thought, can you imagine her when, like, not just that night, but like, you know what I mean? Like, how could she sleep at night knowing that, oh, like, she's the one that, you know, provided this opportunity for a man to just freely, yeah, cheat, I guess. I don't know. But anyway.
Her
So,
priority was the child, and she didn't care how she went about doing it.
yeah. So anyway, so this one is, again, I kind of wanted that intimacy of like almost like a love letter kind of a idea. So this envelope obviously opens up, and then when you open the first tab, you'll see it's obviously me, I'm the person, but I thought I will put myself in that situation, not like exactly, but like if I were to have all these stress that I'm carrying right now, like I have hard time sleeping, you know. So you will see that, and then as you open, you will see the entire image, but this image is accordion book. So then when you take it out and display it, I guess it becomes like that. So it's more of an installation shot, but it's an accordion book of
Cool.
me sleeping. Yeah. On
It's
that.
a tunnel book without having the book surround.
It's actually
Pop
more
up.
like an accordion. So these are all connected here.
Yeah.
Tunnel books are more separate panels.
I see. I see
Yeah.
where the accordion is.
Yeah, so
Thank
these are
you.
accordion, so they're connected.
Got it.
Yeah, but I wanted that more of a foreshortening kind of perspective in the image. So I kind of cut it in a way that you can see sections of my body and image. Yeah.
I love that wallpaper theme again is just
Yeah,
like
I
a
actually love
constant
that
theme through
Mhm.
all of these books.
Yeah, and then if you recall my paintings, they come out of my paintings too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
They're beautiful. You should be a wallpaper designer.
I love the visual continuity that you're achieving with all these different mediums coming together from a similar place. Which
Yeah.
is nice.
And this one is obviously you can see painted. So again, my love for painting does not go away even in my book. Yeah. And because you guys always talk about zine books, so it's not exactly the same zine, you know, that one cut that we do, but it's the same concept, you know. So
This is actually the structure we're doing for this summer's zine swap.
oh, good.
So it's got the 8 panels, but you cut over 3 and then create like 2 little accordions that fold in. So yeah, this is great. I love this.
Yeah, and I think this is actually one of my favorite variation of that zine cuts or folds, if you want to call it, because you can play with this top almost as accordion, you know.
Yeah.
So this is actually a map of myself, but again, I love the idea of using this kind of folds to tell the story of my life. So here, when you fold it, like the way I was describing, this becomes, you know what I mean, accordion, kind of, if you want to say it, almost like a tunnel book too. Yeah.
It's
so
an
then,
inner book.
Yeah, so it's like a small little surprise inside of your book, you know? So I love this. So I kind of created an image from where I'm from and how I came, and now I'm here in Portland, in Maine.
Stunning.
Yeah. The cutaways on the top edge of that to becoming the skyline. I love that. Very
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah, but then, so with this one, because a lot of times, like with the Zin, like you only print one side and then you
Yeah.
fold it and inside is blank. But with this, if you want to utilize the idea of that accordion or tunnel, you
Yeah.
have to consider what's behind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So
Yeah.
what's with the lion?
this is actually skyscape of actually Chicago. I don't know if you guys ever but I went to School of the Art Institute of Chicago
Yeah.
and I stayed there for the next like 20 years after as an adult. So this is a very famous statue of the lion sitting in front of the museum. So everyone knows when people think about Chicago is the Art Institute, obviously, with the lion and the bean. You guys all know the
Mhm.
bean,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I don't know about the lion, but I knew about the bean.
Yeah, so I think you can see the bean better like here. And this whole structure is the Art Institute. So if you are familiar with Chicago, you'll probably recognize it right away. Yeah,
It's beautiful.
thanks. So that's my map of my life. And then lastly, this is my last one.
Wow.
I recently finished it, and this will be part of, I know some of you guys actually be in that show, the one in Arboretum coming up, right?
We
So it's
haven't
a
been
nature
given an
show.
update on that in a while, so that did move forward.
Yes, we
It'd
got,
be nice if Nebo was told about it.
yeah,
Is
but
this the building books project? Right?
No, this
No.
is a nature botanical related show at the Arnold Arboretum.
Oh,
yeah, but I know some of our members are part of that show.
Yeah, and I
So
think that they were jurying it off the website from our member gallery is how they pitched. And I think that they just told people that directly and invited them directly, but I don't think anyone's ever told NEBA what the results were. As far as NEBA knew, they had canceled for COVID.
oh.
wow.
I will reach out and touch base with them and find out so that we can
Yeah,
actually do. When is this? Can you give
It's
us a little
happening,
more?
actually, it's happening, I think, first, it opens the first week of July. So we had to send all the book and information pretty much by, like today. And
That's
then,
crazy that they haven't even touched base with us for any promotional or anything.
yeah, but I know some of our members are part of that show.
Who
But
else do you know that's in it?
I know Rebecca
Yeah.
Ellis, I think, is also. And I thought Carolyn, I thought you were too, but maybe not you.
Maybe it's Carolyn Shattuck.
It's Carolyn
Yeah.
Shattuck.
Oh,
I have
okay.
never,
Okay.
yeah.
So I know a
It's
few
crazy that they
our
didn't touch
members.
base with us at all about it. Yeah, so
I that part I don't know. So I don't want to, but
So apparently it's an invitational.
yeah, I guess.
Good for you.
Congratulations on
Get
getting into
contacted.
it.
But I'm happy that I'm gonna show this one,
Yeah, we will definitely
Gorgeous.
do an in-person visit to this. This will be one
Yes,
of
that'll be really wonderful. 'cause it'll
Absolutely.
very
I'll be
close.
thrilled
It's
to
in
see it in person.
Boston.
Yeah,
So
great.
yeah.
Do you have the cover of this book, the outside?
I can hold it. I don't have a picture of
Good.
that, but I can
Okay.
hold it.
Super.
So anyway, so this is about, obviously, because the show was about nature and art, we had to create something that's related to nature, right? So I chose, the title of the book is Mugunghwa. It's a Korean, obviously, name for the flowers and the plant, but you guys can probably recognize it's a Rose of Sharon.
Mhm.
And that flower and plant is actually a national flower of South Korea. So I chose that particularly because of, I guess, what's happening these days after the COVID. There are a lot of kind of, I mean, everyone became sensitive and violent, but the hate crimes towards Asians were obviously going up. And so I just wanted to bring that awareness. And this particular flower is the national flower of South Korea. And it's obviously the flower itself is recognized for its hardness and resilience. And the plant is supposedly be able to regrow despite harsh conditions of the weather and even when it's damaged. So I thought it was kind of interesting to bring the idea of this flower into it, and looks beautiful, but
Yeah.
yet it's still very hardy a plant. So I wanted to bring that up. And again, it's quite large too. It's about like 19 by 14 when it's closed. So when you open it again, like 30 by 18 or 19.
Nice. I wonder how the Rose of Sharon, I always thought of it as a biblical sort of reference with that name in the Old Testament.
Interesting. That one I didn't know.
And because Sharon is a Jewish name and Old Testament, and that could actually probably go in your show as well.
That's interesting. I didn't know. I only did it because it's the national flower of the South Korea.
Yeah.
Well, it's
And
nice that it has multiple, it's hitting on multiple levels. Yeah. Nice.
Gorgeous.
that's it. Any questions? I'm
Thank
gonna
you
stop
so
sharing, okay?
much.
Yeah, hold up a few and
Hold
let us
up
see
these
some of
folks.
the,
Yeah.
the movable
Oh.
structures.
Okay, sure,
Like the-
sure. So for the
Jacob's ladder would be fun to see too.
Mughal, the
Jacob's
Rose of
ladder.
Sharon, like, do you see how big? I mean,
Oh my goodness, yeah.
use my mess in the back, but
I don't see a
do
whole
you
lot.
see
of
how
that.
large this
Nice.
is? And then it's a block. I kind of,
Yeah.
Color block.
and then hold on.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's quite large.
Stunning.
Thank you. And then let me see. I will. And then as you can see, like, so all the books that I made are quite, it's not tiny little things. So it kind of has the size of, like I said, a large board game. Okay. And then let me see. And then when you open it, kind of give you an idea how it looks like inside. And then you use that little tap and then take the book out. Let me see. Let me see if I can show you. So let me see if I can. Do you see?
Yeah. Pull back a little farther away from the lens so we can see more.
Okay, hold on.
Back up a little. Yeah.
Stand up.
Oh, there we go. Full body experience.
Yeah, here, like that.
Yeah, that's better. There you go. Give it a flip.
Oh,
So this is Eve in the story where the snake comes and kind of tempts her, with the fruit. Okay. And then this one, she's
shamed into covering herself.
Yep.
Oh, that poor Eve.
oh poor us.
So yeah. That's it, right?
Wonderful, honey. Really great.
Well, any questions from our audience? Well, really terrific presentations, both of you. Rebecca and Annie, really interesting. And I think it's interesting that you both had a lion in your stories.
I was going to ask Annie, do you sketch out your concepts in a notebook or anything?
I do, because I guess it's the idea of like me being a painter, and so I always draw my concepts first. So drawing always comes first. Either I paint or make prints or make books. So drawing is always there. So when I did, for example, like these ladies, well, not ladies, they're Eve, the Eve, when I was doing the Eve, I drew her first. But when I do drawings, I do a lot of use, kind of like you, like a transparent paper, because I don't know what exactly I want to be settling with. So I have a figure, but I wasn't sure about the background. So I'll start to draw a background on a transparent kind of a paper, and I'll layer it to see how that figure looks against the other background. That makes sense? Yeah. So
Yes.
my drawings don't always be in a sketchbook. A lot of people think, do you have a sketchbook? When you look at my sketchbook, it's literally papers, just all, just cut and pasted everywhere. Because I'll be drawing it in all kinds of different material.
Did it take a while to figure out how the placement for Jacob's Ladder?
It did. So when it comes to a book like this, I always make a dummy book first, right? So always start with the concept where if this particular, I guess, binding or structure work better than the other. So when I started doing this, I started with actually not with the Jacob's Ladder, but with Eve, I started as an accordion first. But then after working with accordion structure for a little bit with Eve, and I thought, you know what? It's not really exactly how I wanted to present. I wanted Eve being a person to be this horrible blamed, started this whole, sin, if you want to call it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
why not make it more playful? And almost, it's not a joke, but like, you know what I mean? Something that
I like the idea of the ladder and the steps of sin and the acquisition of her shame coming on the way it comes on. I think the Jacob's Ladder is perfect for it.
Yeah, so then I changed it to Jacob's Ladder after working on it as an accordion first. You know what I mean? So I do kind of play with the different structure and then see if one works better than the other. Yeah.
Really great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. Well, thank you, both of you, for being here today and being willing to drop your work in on us, and so we can get to know you during these COVID times. Christina and I thought we'd ask you a couple of questions about this structure of show and tell. It's been, for me, an incredible way to host and get to know all various members through this vehicle. And maybe, this was the last presentation of the season. By fall, maybe some of us would be willing to get together again, which was before COVID, how everyone got to know each other. And we'd bring our work or bring our thoughts and get together somewhere. And we just wanted to know if you want this to continue, if you see a value to this, even when, restrictions may be lifted, even though we're in our increasing number slot right now. Just wondered what you're thinking.
If we do in person, we would probably be able to do some type of video recording, not a Zoom at the moment, or we could even try to do a Zoom at the moment because you can Zoom pretty much so off a cell phone, but we could get other people involved that way. I know that a lot of people are not going to be willing to travel to the metro Boston area for this. just for a show and tell. So
Right.
what do you think? Do you think it's better to just stay with Zoom, or should we attempt? And we'd like to hear what you guys think about all this.
I don't know, what about a annual or biannual get together? Because those of us who are far flung, you're right, we aren't going to show up
Yeah,
if you're Boston centric. And then I think to have a meeting in person in all these various communities could be interesting,
I
but
think so too. Yeah,
maybe a field trip once a year where members would make an effort to get there, or an in-person event once a year. I know Zoom has its limitations, but it also has allowed people from very far away to become
Yeah.
members and show up.
Totally
my 2 cents.
expansive, isn't it? It really expands our reach.
What about we give then both options? So even if you guys do meet in person, right?
we
You can still have the Zoom, you know, and they have a computer and
Yeah.
camera on, so that people who would like to join, you know, via Zoom, we can.
Yeah. I think it makes sense to do both if we do go to an in-person event.
Yeah.
I do like the idea that a couple of these more national groups have that I've experienced as a member of other groups, the idea that you could have a pod for maybe each of our predominant states that we're in with membership, and maybe even encourage a person to be kind of like the pod leader, so that like Maine can start having events, you know, as well. They could have get-togethers or field trips of their own that they tell everybody about, and people that are in other locations could possibly come, or you can gear it more towards your own pod, you know, to get your own folks together. I don't know. We're still expanding and we're still new.
Yeah, that pod idea also generates work from that group. I see that with the Monotype Guild.
Yeah. I've seen it with the CBA, the College Book Arts Association.
Yeah. And it just reaches and reaches more. We were also wondering if maybe rather than 1 o'clock on a Sunday, to release the afternoon and the, you know, morning and afternoon, that maybe we could get a bigger audience if it was at 4, like 4 to 6. What do you think about that? Or are you mostly morning people? Maybe it should start at 10.
I'm somebody who wouldn't commit because my life is complicated. So to have like, I mean, I just show up when I can, and I don't need it to always be the same day or time. It could be any day, anytime. And if I'm free, I would go. But, you know, the second Sunday or whatever, that doesn't fit into my way of thinking. And I think sometimes when you have a variety of choices, like Monday 1 month, Tuesday another, 7 o'clock, 4 o'clock, that you actually get more people overall.
That is an option. We've picked dates and set them in the way that we did, and didn't really make a lot of variation yet. And this is the time of year that we start to think about asking and making changes. And yeah, we'll figure it out. So maybe that is a good idea, to change it up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you've got single parents or young people or older people or people that work or people that teach, no.
We are mostly, you know, our average is I think 66 or 67 is our average membership age. We are striving to bring in younger people as well as more men. And, you know, diversity ideas would be nice too. So we've got some outreach to do, but right now, I don't think we have any young moms in our group.
Yeah. But
You know what I mean? We have mostly older women.
yeah, and I
who,
think
have a pretty flexible schedule.
right. And so younger moms, when are they going to be free? 8 p.m. You know, so
yeah,
that's what I mean. Like maybe our time doesn't reach a bigger demographic because it's a particular time that's good for people who are much older.
Yeah, I think with the idea of varying it is probably the way to go. To actually do it for a year with variations and see how that goes. Because being in a set routine like we've been, some days we've gotten up to 20 people at a show and tell, but we get a lot of people looking at the video. but we don't get as many people actually showing up as I'd like. So we're trying to seek out new ways to get more engagement.
Oh.
Well,
Well, it's a
and
great group. It's a fabulous group. Everything that's happening is fantastic.
Well, I've enjoyed all the work I've put into it for everybody, and I've definitely received some personal benefits from it, but I want to make sure that other people keep active, because there's a whole lot of membership that we don't really see much of. You know, we have a set group of people that are pretty regular to all the activities, and that's nice. And I'm glad that they're, you know, I'm getting to know them better. You do get to know people better in a small group. So that's been one perk about not always having such a glut of people at meetings. But I would like it to get more, you know, engagement.
yeah, and the board will talk about all these things in a board meeting. We just wanted to get some feedback from some of you regulars like Gail and Penny and Mary Gillis. We see that name often.
Yeah.
I wish there were more people here tonight, but I don't know, maybe May is,
about. Yeah.
May is, it's too pretty, you know? I mean, I really want to be on my scooter right now, to be honest, but.
I was gonna say it's really nice weather today here too.
I'm going to be in the yard all day. So definitely.
And I'm going out when we're done. And thank you for your feedback, and thank you, Annie and Rebecca, for your presentations. Really, really interesting stuff, and really appreciate your time for sharing with us. And we're glad you're members.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Christina, for making me do it. If
Yeah,
she
well,
didn't,
I just put a
she
little
didn't
pressure,
ask, I
a
would
little
not have done
pressure.
it.
No, I don't think I made you.
I know, but like, because you asked, you know, if
Yeah,
you didn't, I would not have volunteered at all.
Well,
So.
Yeah, she
excited.
couldn't,
Everybody have a great afternoon. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
And,
thank
we'll
you,
see
and we'll
again in September for more
be
showing
in
up.
touch.
Bye.
Bye now.